It's been a minute since I've made a quote information video or a topic-based video. Normally, I grab this camera and we just run around like crazy people, edit it all up and give it to you guys and call it my van life day. Well, in the little van life little niche that we have here, there's a term that gets thrown around quite a bit in the van life area, and it's confusing some people because you hear the word overlanding and you hear things like Overland Expo or Overland Rally. Then you hear me and all the van life stuff going on around us talking about van life, but yet we still throw around that other word. Are they the same? Are they different? Today, we're gonna let you know. We're driving the van down a narrow trail this morning, and the farther I get into it, the more overgrown it's starting to get. That means tree branches are dragging down the side of the van's paint, and I'm not worried about that because I have a bed liner painted on the entire outside of the van, so those tree branches, well, they don't bother me. It's the trees that are getting narrower and narrower that are knocking the side mirrors. That's what worries me. Because if I gotta back out of this scenario, we're probably taking a mirror off on the way out. But that's what happens when you live van life. Or is this called overlanding? Huh, so confusing. Whoa. Somebody's built an outside shelter here and a little teepee. Check that out. Look at that. No freaking way. Cool. Awesome. So it's got a fireplace. This is all just sticks and moss. Yeah, and they have another teepee here too. Anyway, guys, we are on Vancouver Island and we're out for a little adventure today, and I am feeling a lot better. That's the end of it. Oh, I don't know if we're gonna make that one. Let's try. Oh, it's way too steep. Yeah. My back end is gonna definitely go on the way back. That's the end of this one. All right, finally turned around. Go in the ditch, bud. I've never been out here in the summer. I like it that I'm still finding places. In an area I explore quite a bit. Come on. Beauty. Looks like somebody up here started quite the big fire at some point. This is a good camp spot. That amazing view, all the little dried up firewood around here. And with all of our nice chilly mornings starting, because this morning I turned my heater on this morning when I got up. I did. It was 9 degrees Celsius when I woke up. So pretty soon that fire ban will be gone and we can get back to having some campfires and some late nights sitting out here. Ah! The problem with that hole, like look how big this hole is. It's, yeah, that's, my van's done if it goes down there. I can't see this edge from up there. When you have a high vehicle, you can't see over the front edge. So like if your vehicle's low, you have a better perspective on how close you are to a cliff. But when you're up that high, it looks like you're right on the cliff. I'm gonna pass. We're gonna back out of here. Seatbelt on and don't slide down the mountain, Chrome. did it. He did it. I think if you were to take a person who's into van life and another person who's into overlanding and stand them side by side together, you would find that you have two individuals with a lot in common. Both of them have a deep curiosity for what's around the next corner and a deep want in their life to put their vehicle somewhere awesome, whether it's in a cute community on the pavement somewhere or driving to a remote mining community that's been left out here from hundreds of years ago deep in the backcountry. Either way, both people are seeking adventure. And there's a huge dream on either end of it. People dream about driving way out here in the mountains. People also dream about living in a vehicle of any kind and exploring the towns, communities, and national parks. Either way, both of these sides, whether it's van life or overlanding, definitely have a lot in common. So let's dive into what the definitions of both of them are and maybe find out where you belong amongst the two of them. Or you might be like me. You fit right smack dab in the middle between both of those little communities. Either way, they're loving on either side. I met this guy in the quad and I told him about a road I couldn't get through. And what did he do? Shoved it right up it. And I watched him rip it. I'm like, where does that road go? Maybe one day I'll buy a quad and I'll be able to find out. I've been wanting a quad so bad, especially for those areas that this can't get into. Like down there, I want to know what's past that road that we couldn't get through that big divot. I could come up here, park the van and the trailer, take the quad out and explore everywhere. I seriously think adding a quad to my van life is coming sometime in the very near future. The little sound system he had on that thing was just bumping. He stopped me on the trail down there. He goes, hey man, you're just super stoked. Hey man, I'm just out for a ride today. Anything cool up there? I'm like, nah, I had to turn around. That's why I flew the drone to see if he could actually get through there, but he ended up turning around too. But I want a quad. You find yourself a perfectly cozy spot, bro? Hi, Cruzy. Sorry, I had to venture a little bit before we started yip-yapping about this subject today. So if you're gonna live in a van, that is called van life. When you sleep in a vehicle for the means of sleeping, aka van and life, that's van life. Van life doesn't always have to mean travel or big expeditions or up here in the mountains, what I'm doing. It doesn't mean that you have to quit your day job and ditch everything that you own and sell it all, get into a van and start traveling. That is not the exact means of van life. Van life just means that you sleep in a van. Can you be a van lifer on a weekend and go home to your house during the week? You damn right you can. Can you do hashtag van life in a car? Yeah, it's called car camping, but all underneath the same umbrella. You know what I mean? So van life doesn't have to be what I do. Living in that thing 365 days a year through every single season, my only home. The only place that I have with a bed is right there. I am a full-time van lifer. So that doesn't mean that van life has to be full-time. You could be a weekend warrior till you're blue in the face. Get in your van and go out and go camping. Not a big deal. Go sleep in your van at Walmart and go back home, park your van in the driveway, take the bed out of it, put the kids' seats back in it, and go to work on Monday. You still can do van life. All van life is you sleeping in a van. Make your van life whatever you want it to be. So can a van lifer do overlanding? So the definition of overlanding, the easiest way to put it is overlanding is adventuring into remote areas in a vehicle. It doesn't have to be a truck, it doesn't have to be a great big military Unimog. It can be a damn dirt bike with saddlebags on the side. You can go on overland adventures. So overlanding in a nutshell really is traveling with journey as a purpose, not so much, like van life. Or sometimes we just like van life. The purpose of it is to sleep in a van. For me, van life for me, the purpose of it is my home. That's the purpose of my van life for me, is I built a home because I need somewhere to live. Where overlanding means that you build out some kind of an expedition vehicle of some kind, and your primary purpose for being out there is exploring and adventure and going on some kind of an expedition, usually in a remote place, but the base of that at the end of every night is camping. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'll pull up on, let's go get my phone here, and we'll actually pull up a definition from Wikipedia on what overlanding is. Here's the definition on Wikipedia, and to put this in my own words, overland travel is traveling in a vehicle where you're self-reliant, where you've got everything you need inside of your vehicle to survive. Typically, but not exclusively, it's an off-road vehicle. It could be anything from a bike to a truck, where the principal form of lodging is camping. Over extended periods of time, could be months, years, or spanning international borders. So pretty much overlanding is being self-reliant in a vehicle and traveling in remote areas in your vehicle. And if you're badass, you're overlanding in that thing. That thing is awesome. So even though I'm a full-time van lifer and this is my home, I still overland. And I could call it either or. I call it van life because that's the purpose of me, but I technically am in the crossover stages. So not only am I living the van life, I'm also doing overlanding. It gets confusing. You don't have to be in any category. You could just be a van lifer that likes to play in the dirt. You don't have to be considered an overlander, or I'm going overlanding today, and then when you're in town sleeping at Walmart, I'm a van lifer today. Whatever. It's just, these are just terms that categorize certain categories. Usually in the overland niche, you'll see a lot of, Toyota trucks with the big tents and stuff on the top, but it doesn't have to be. You don't have to sleep in your vehicle in order to be overlanding. You can do that in your 4x4 truck and throw a tent outside. You could do that in your Mazda 3 with a tent outside. It doesn't matter. You don't need this big elaborate vehicle. The reason why vehicles are such a big part of it is you need something capable out here. Be safe when you're out here. Don't just jump in your Honda Civic and bomb it out here and just say, I'm going to overland this weekend. Be careful out here. That's why overland rigs or van life rigs like mine that is lifted, has a winch, has all the recovery gear and stuff on the top, we come out here a little bit more prepared. And usually when you get into sticky situations is when you start making these upgrades. That's when I made my upgrades. The second I got stuck one time, my back tires were spinning. I'm like, oh crap. I went out and bought recovery boards right away. And then I got stuck a little bit again. I'm like, okay, let's start being safe. I went and put a winch on the front. Just having a little bit more means to be safer out here. That's why around overlanding, you see all those super awesome rigs that people take such pride on and buy so many toys for. So if you want to compare the two of them together and talking about their overland rallies or overland expos, are van lifers allowed at overland rallies and overland expos? Abso-freaking-lutely. Do you need a lifted van with a air locker in the back so you can get both tires a turn? Do you need to have all these upgrades like my van has in order to go to an overland gathering? Definitely not. If you're going to an overland rally that has like some of those rallies, they get up together as a team and they just go shove it way out there. Those are the ones you're probably best to speak to the organizers and find out what skill level you need to be for the trails that they're taking. Some of those ones require certain size tires in order to, and certain size clearance underneath it in order to make it through those trails. So if you're planning on going to a rally, maybe you check in with those people and see if it's like a camp out or if it's a rally. If it's a rally, chances are you're bombing around the bush somewhere and they're going to have some requirements for you on what your vehicle is actually capable of. Mine has limitations too. Some of those rallies, because I have a 6-inch lift or a 5-inch lift in here, bigger tires and all the gear, doesn't mean that I can get into the areas that the Jeeps or the Toyota trucks can, because I have a large back end on my van. That big back area, huge. Which means little dips in the road like over here, like I had to turn around in today. Those Toyota trucks, easy peasy, they're bombing through there, not a problem at all. Me, my rig is big, it has its limitations. So yes, a van lifer can go to an overland gathering, not a problem. And they're welcoming you. Like all those guys, they just think it's awesome that you're out there adventuring. They couldn't care what you're in. It doesn't matter to them. To them, they're just stoked that they have somebody around them that has like-minded, that loves to be out here and exploring and doing adventures. And on the van life side, are people in the overland market allowed over on our side? Yeah, of course you are. So in the van life side, I would consider van life anything under an umbrella of sleeping in a vehicle. Sure, you can be technical about it and say, no, that's car camping, no, that's truck camping, all underneath the same umbrella. I would consider it. Okay, even if you want to call it car camping, put van life underneath that umbrella. We're all out there sleeping in a vehicle, whether it's full-time or you're just doing it for fun on a Saturday just because. Still, kind of, I would consider that under the same umbrella. So if you're going to go to like a van life gathering or a van life meetup and you got a truck, give her. You got a bed in the back? Give her. You got a car with your side seat ripped out and you made a bed in there? Give her. All underneath that van life umbrella. Like there's no divide. There's no dead mark in the line on what is what. Like if you have just a regular Honda Civic with a bed in the front seat and you want to go to a big overland gathering with all these big crazy cool trucks and Jeeps and lifted vans and stuff, and you want to pull up in there in your Honda Civic or whatever you've got because you're thinking about turning that thing into more of an off-road vehicle, because who knows, you maybe want to lift your Civic, I don't know. You're still welcome to go to those kind of gatherings just to pull ideas from people and talk to people. When we were at the Overland North gathering, there was a guy out there in some kind of a little sportsy car kind of vehicle with all-terrain tires on it and a roof rack on a car that what are you doing? Awesome. And they're just so acceptable of everybody. So guys, don't feel like there's a divide between these two sides of things. They're awesome on either end. Van lifers are awesome and overlanders are awesome. Don't get intimidated by those big rigs out here on the trail. If you're the first time ever being on a Forest Service road and you're coming out here to find some of these nice little spots and you run into a all kitted out, truck of some kind and all the little gadgets hanging off of you like, this guy means business. Chances are you roll down your window, he will be the most helpful person or she will be the most helpful person you've met in a very long time, especially if you're in a vehicle that's not so capable. Roll down your window and kind of wave for a second. Chances are they've already waved at you already. It's a common thing we do out here. We're just courteous. We wave at each other. And if you ask them, said, hey, look, I'm kind of new to being out here. Is this road okay to continue on? And they will usually guide you. Okay, when you go up here, I would stay to the left and go to the right. It gets a little bit squirrely on the right side. Ask, don't be shy. Everybody out here is awesome. Still yet to run into a douchebag in a truck. Run into douchebags and trucks going to work all the time in the city, but not out here. The people are having a good time. They're smiling. They got a big smile on their face and they're just enjoying life. So I thought I would make this video because I know some people are confused between the two and what's acceptable and who accepts who and who's allowed to. We all love each other. There's no fight on either end, okay? It's just we're a community no matter which way you do it. If you're an outdoorsy guy, then you're overlanders and you are going to get along great. Who cares what you drive? And if you're looking at getting into van life, don't let things you read online in forums or in comment sections, sometimes those areas are absolutely a horrible place to be. Don't let anybody out there tell you what your van life has to be or what your overlanding has to be, what you have to have, what you need. You go do what you want to do. Trust me, life is way better when you give 0 Fs what everybody around you thinks. Go build your vehicle the way you want. Go buy the gear that you think you're going to need. No need to buy what's trendy or what's hot. Buy what you can afford at the time. And then if you feel that that item didn't work for you the first time you needed to use it, then upgrade it from there. It's okay to buy the cheapy stuff from the very beginning if you're just starting, and then learn the gear as you go. Like I have really expensive set of recovery boards up there. I also have a very cheap set of recovery boards up there. So the ARB Tread Pros up there are awesome. They're really, really, really good. The Tread Pros are just a good product. But I also have the just knockoff little ones from Amazon. And they work. Sure, they may not last me as long, but I'd better have, you know, an extra setup there than to only have one set. You know what I mean? And those, the Tread Pros are like $300 and some odd dollars, where the other ones at Amazon were $100, you know? So start with what you need. Don't get pigeonholed into things that you read in forums. Oh, you can't do that as an overlander. Do what you want to do. And if you really want some real answers, stop those guys out on the trail. They will be the most helpful people you've ever met. And like if you run into me on the trail somewhere and just be like, hey, Chrome, I have a question. I'm going to pause. I'm going to pull over. We're going to crack a beer together. We're going to have a little chit chat. So don't be intimidated, guys. All this stuff and all this people in both little communities going on here in the topic that we're talking about today are just two groups of badass individuals doing badass things. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'm clearly feeling better, and we're gonna go enjoy the rest of this day. I'll see you guys later. Really? Is that what is that your input into today's video? Is that it? Yeah, that's what overlanding and van life is to Cruzy. Stopping somewhere on the top of a mountain, having a nap.